If you've been rocking the same cheap beat up backpack that you've had for the last 8.5 years that you snagged for free at some event or something along those lines, you've come to the realization that, hey, I use my backpack every single day for work when I travel. Maybe it's not a terrible idea if I actually invest a little bit of thought and more money on a backpack that is going to actually spark joy when you use it. And maybe you started your search for that backpack, but you quickly became overwhelmed by the millions of options that you're seeing and quickly finding out that the vast majority of the recommendations are bags that you can't see in person. You have to order them directly from the brands, and you just want to make sure that you pick the right one, then this video is for you. It's a pretty common phenomenon in the bag world that someone finally takes the leap. They buy their first premium backpack. They have that aha moment of damn, why didn't I do this sooner? This is amazing. I feel more efficient, more organized. I enjoy interacting with the bag and the incredible materials. But the second that honeymoon phase starts wearing out, they start to have these thoughts of oof, if only it had this, it would be the perfect backpack. Or I wish it didn't have this, or I wish it was a little bit more comfortable, whatever that might be. And then that is kind of the beginning of the vortex. And now for people like myself, I derive joy from being in the vortex. I think there's something enjoyable about getting in tune with what your preferences are. And these are things that evolve over time. But I get that for a lot of people, they just want to buy a backpack and be done with it and just know that they're going to be very happy with that backpack for the foreseeable future. And so my intention with this video is to hopefully guide you to finding your ideal backpack without necessarily having to go through a consumption vortex where you're buying multiple bags just trying to find this perfect bag, which, spoiler alert for most people, that doesn't exist. So let's get into it. The way I've structured the video is as if I was having a conversation with myself when I was buying my first premium backpack, and the logical process that I would follow to narrow down my options pretty dramatically so I'm not super overwhelmed by everything that's out there, and finding a bag that I'm not going to be second guessing, is there a better option for me out there? And yes, bag preferences evolve over time. A lot of it is dependent on your specific use cases. Do those change? Having kids, all of that good stuff, but I'll save that conversation for another time. I'll break it into 5 sections that have a sequential, logical flow to them, at least for me, is the size, the budget. I'll get into the organizational preferences, little features that are must-haves versus nice-to-haves. This varies person to person, but maybe things to pay closer attention to. And then lastly, the aesthetics, which is highly subjective. And just to clarify, this is not for a hiking backpack. This is not for a one-bag travel backpack or for a photography-specific backpack. This is for a general use, whether it's work, personal life, travel backpack with maybe some hybrid gym functionality in there as well. I'll make brand specific recommendations. I'll point out a few specific backpack models, but I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of those. I'll include links in the description of dedicated reviews that I've done on some of the bags that I'll talk about. So starting off with the size, I break it down into 3 main buckets. You got your compact backpacks that are from 12 to 16 liters, 18 to 22 liters, which is kind of the everyday carry sweet spot for anyone that doesn't plan on doing any one bag travel with it. And then you've got the hybrid, which is from 24 to 26 liters, around there, which I'd say for most people, they're going to fall into the EDC or hybrid category. And I'll share my thoughts on each and specific loadouts, use cases, or body types that might benefit the most from each range. So starting off with the compact 12 to 16 liters, on the lower end of that range, I think it makes for a good day pack at destination when you're traveling, pretty minimal with what you carry, and you just want something super lightweight. You're not really carrying tech, if you're going to a museum or Disney World, something along those lines. And then on the upper end of that, around the 16 liter mark, you have bags like the Air City Pack 2, the Evergoods CPL 16. These are bags that are pretty ideal for people that are fairly minimal with what they carry. They're only carrying tech essentials like a laptop, tablet, cables, etc. You still have space for something like a water bottle and then a smaller layer, but that's it. The other use case where I think it also makes sense, like right now my wife is actually using the Air City Pack 2 and she's like 5'2", like 110 pounds, like fairly petite person. So for anyone that has a smaller frame, going in the 16 liter mark, typically the proportions relative to your body work really well for everyday carry, where maybe an 18 to 22 liter bag would look a little bit too big. Now, for everyday carry specifically, right, being 5'8", 140 pounds, that 18 to 22 liter mark is usually the sweet spot in terms of like footprint proportionate to my torso. And also when I'm not going to be using it for one bagging it as well, I'm not going to be using it to carry stuff for other people. It's mainly for myself. I'd say that's probably my favorite range to be in because it still gives me a little bit more extra space. Without getting too far into the weeds, there are inconsistencies in what one brand reports volume wise as others. There are certain brands that underreport, some that overreport. I'd say of the brands that I'll talk about today, Bellroy is one that usually I'll shave off like a liter or two. Same with Alpaka. Air depends on the bag. I think they're usually pretty consistent, but their City Pack 2 does feel a little bit, maybe like a 17 to 18 liter bag. And in that 18 to 22 liter bucket, when it comes to travel, I think that's also a really good size for pairing your backpack with like a carry-on roller or a duffel. Just having a little bit of extra space for myself, in that oftentimes when I travel, I carry my camera with me. And then beyond that, just I have kids, so that extra space is welcome. 12 to 16 liters is fine when the weather is great and I don't have to worry about layers, but when layers are involved, and typically I like to travel when the weather is cooler, layers are typically involved. And then the last one, I'd say for most people, 24, 25 liters is kind of the ultimate like one bag to do it all size range, even at 26 liters. If you want a bag for everything, and I think the important distinction is if you like to do one bag travel for shorter trips as well, like 2 to maybe 3 nighters, and you want to use this bag in your everyday life. You don't want it so that it's like too big for everyday carry, but it's still big enough that you can use it for one bag travel. That's why bags like the Able Carry Max EDC, which is a 26 liter bag, the Air City Pack Pro 2 are such popular bags in that jack of all trades, master of none sort of way. Now, on the upper end of that, I think if you have a big torso, this size range is probably going to be the most proportionate to your body. For someone like me, again, 5'8", 140 pounds, the Able Carry Max EDC is a bag that I find a little bit too bulky for everyday carry. The Air City Pack Pro 2 proportions actually work very well for me for everyday carry. And then probably my favorite bag, the Pioneer Carry Panda Pack, is a 25 liter, and it's like just edging on maybe being too big for everyday carry, but more from like a width standpoint, the height is really good. Now, once you've settled in on a size range, budget is obviously like an incredibly important consideration. The reason why I went over the size first is because the brands that I'm going to show you as examples that I think represent each tier well, I'm taking like the middle size bags from each of these brands. And then there's also like the different fabric options. More premium fabric options are going to be more expensive, but I'm going off of their like base fabric options, which for a lot of these, the base fabric is usually the best fabric to go with for one bag that you want to have as long as possible. So I break it down into 3 categories. Budget premium, this is ballpark from the $90 to $140 range. Premium, $170 to $220. And then once you're like in the $250 plus mark, you're in the premium range. And I'll share my perspective on the 3 different tiers. Transparently, if you can't swallow $90 for a backpack because it's just something that you don't value that much, then candidly, you should probably like stop watching the video now. Not to say that you can't find a bag that's going to make you happy in the $50 to $60 range. Maybe you find one of these budget premium options on sale and you can get it at that price point. But I just feel like the difference between a very cheap bag and a $40 to $60 bag is not that different. But if you're just willing to spend like 30, 40, 50 more dollars, then there's going to be a tangible jump in the overall build quality, the materials that you're using, where you're entering this is a worthwhile investment territory. And I feel like that first jump happens around this range. Some of my favorite brands within this range are Tom Talk, Osprey, Thule is one that's feel like very overlooked in the bag community just because they do a lot, but bang for your buck, they kill it. And then another one that's fantastic is C Tactical if you're more into the like tactical military-esque rugged look. Now, if you're like, hey, I am cool spending more money if this is something that I'm going to notice the difference in build quality, in materials, and for a lot of these examples, just the thoughtfulness behind the design process. I find that the ultimate sweet spot where I personally would go for my first premium bag is in this like $170 to $220 price point, with brands like Air and Bellroy and Alpaka representing this category. And there's a reason why if you go and you start looking like for bag recommendations, these brands will inevitably come up time and time again. And I think one of the biggest reasons for why they have become so popular is the level of detail, the quality of the construction, the material selection that they deliver feels so premium that I think for 98% of people, like that's going to be all you need. You don't need anything more premium than that. Beyond that, that's where you really start to enter the world of diminishing returns. And not to say like, hey, don't spend more money than this. But I think if you're trying to find where that inflection point happens, where that difference becomes a lot more nuanced, that is the sweet spot to be in. Right now, probably the most popular talked about backpack is the Air City Pack Pro 2. But one of the reasons for why it's so popular is because it's like $209 in the ballistic nylon version, and compared to a lot of bags in the $300 to $400 range, it holds its weight really well. And then lastly, the ultra premium category, $250 plus. I mean, you can get into the $600, $700, $800 in the world of backpacks, but some brands that I still think are intelligently priced relative to what you're getting are Pioneer Carry, Waterfield Designs, and Evergoods. I'll spend less time talking about them because I feel like typically people don't spend $300 to $400 on their first bag, but Evergoods in particular, I think that one is on the upper end of premium and the lower end of ultra premium, depending on what bag you're getting. Now, moving on to access styles and organization. Of all the things I'll talk about, I think this is one of the areas that people think about the least when they're buying their first premium backpack. And there's two components to this, like access styles and just organizational preferences, which I feel like if you have a strong feeling about which one you fall into, then you're going to be able to narrow down your options significantly as well. So starting off with the access style, there's two main styles. There is top-down access, which is the style that I naturally gravitate towards the most, and I'll explain why now. But then there's side access, which is equally popular. And one is definitely not better than the other. A lot of it is just dependent on where you live and how you use bags. And then lastly, the hybrid, where you get a little bit of both. But so you know what I'm talking about. So with top down, this is where the pockets are typically best accessed when the bag is removed, right? So you plop it on a table or on the floor, and the quick access pockets, the way the laptop compartment is structured, are more intuitively accessed top down. So the Air City Pack 2 and the Air City Pack Pro 2, for example, Pioneer Carry, their succinct collection of bags, you'll notice that all of their quick access pockets are more comfortably accessed this way. Now, the reason for why that works better for me, other than the fact that it just is more organic, is the fact that I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, but it's a place where I'm driving a lot more than I'm walking, right? One of the places where I'm like getting the most value out of the functionality of my backpacks is when I'm traveling. And so usually I'll have my backpack with a luggage pass-through standing on top of my suitcase where I can access my things top down that way. Or when it's on the seat underneath the airplane, I like everything top down so I can just like stack my tablet, my headphones, whatever it might be when I'm on the plane. Now, for a lot of people that live in like very densely populated metropolitan cities, right, where you're walking a lot, you're commuting, you're in really tight spaces, it's invaluable having a backpack that you can just swing around and just access your things from the side. Evergoods and Able Carry are two that are fantastic. They're known for having like a vertical stash pocket that is designed so that you can organize and easily access your things while the backpack is on you. And then for people that maybe you're not sure, or maybe you want best of both worlds, like the Simple Commuter is a bag that has an awesome like top down tech caddy quick access pocket, but then they also have a vertical stash pocket so that you have that side access functionality. And then Bellroy's one, they have a variety of bags, but I'd say probably their two most popular models are the Transit Work Pack and then just like their Venture line. The Venture line is more top down, and then the Transit Work Pack, not the Pro, that one you also get a top down pocket combined with that vertical pocket for side access. But beyond that, there's another important component, right? There are people like myself that I thrive off of organization. When things are clutter-free, I like having little dedicated places for different things. This is something that has evolved over time. Before I needed too much organization, and now I don't need as much, but I definitely need a lot more than just like a big sack to throw my things in with a few other pockets here and there. The other important component for me is having a water bottle holder, which I'll get into after. But for people that maybe you aspire to be more organized, but in reality, you know that you're just gonna stuff your things in your bag and you just want the most usable open volume, a few options across different price points. All right, now let's get into the nitty gritty a little bit more as far as features and functionality, like what are the check boxes that you absolutely need in your ideal backpack, and then some that are nice to haves. Now, of course, I wish I could have all of my nice to haves and must haves in one backpack, but I think just accepting that the perfect bag does not exist, or at least for anyone that's like very meticulous and nitpicky like myself, the sooner you can like just truly enjoy your bag and appreciate it even for its imperfections. I'll share with you, like when I look at a bag, the things that in my ideal everyday carry bag, I consider must-haves, and then some that are nice to haves, but essentially the more nice to haves that it has, the better. For me, it's the ability to stand on its own, that it has some sort of water bottle holder, whether that's internal or external, that has a comfortable harness system, a smooth zipper experience, and that it has a luggage pass-through. I'll quickly share my logic behind these, and hopefully as I do, you'll quickly be able to figure out, hey, do I actually care about that? Or that's not that big of a deal for me. So standability, this is one of those where once you have it, it's like pretty hard to have a backpack without it. I think especially for anyone like myself that you prefer that top-down access, removing the bag from you and just getting into it that way, being able to plop it on the floor and it reliably standing is a huge value add for me. There's a few backpacks that I have that I absolutely love, but they don't stand on their own. And sometimes I forget, I'm like, why don't I use that backpack that much? And then I like take it out and then I'm like, oh, that's why. Air and Simple are two bags that do standability really, really well. Water bottle holder. Do you need it or not, right? There are brands out there that I should as a service to the bag community, just if you're curious about my perspective, but like bags like GoRuck, the vast majority of their backpacks don't have water bottle holders. Evergoods, it wasn't until not that long ago that they rolled out their CTB line and their MPL line, and they finally introduced water bottle holders. Same with Black Ember. I literally just did a review of their H2. They've been around for a very long time, and they finally introduced water bottle holders. I think for me, especially when I'm traveling, it's not even just me. Like I'm carrying a water bottle for me, my wife who drinks water like a camel. It's a non-negotiable for me. And yes, you can always throw your water bottle in just the main compartment, but that just gives me too much anxiety. Just a loose metal object, clanking with other things, the possibility that it opens up and leaks in there. And most importantly, I just absolutely prefer having it separated. One of my favorite backpacks in the world, the Waterfield Designs Techfolio. It has literally, it's in the main compartment. It just has like a little wax canvas like loop that it slides into, and it's still in the main compartment standing there, but it just feels secure, and that's all I need. I used to be very much like it has to be an external water bottle holder. Now over time, I've realized there's more nuanced things that spark certain levels of joy that like you can't put on paper, just apples to apples feature wise. But for some people, you might absolutely need an external one. Some people might prefer an internal one, like Able Carry. They do it on their Max CDC, their Daily Plus. It's a zipper on the side, and that also has its advantages, even though the downside is that it takes up some of the internal space of your backpack. It keeps the clean look and silhouette of the backpack. And also, like for example, when you're going through security at the airport, you put the bag on its side or you have the bag under you, sometimes the water bottle will slip out, right? Ensuring that it's not going anywhere. is also really nice. Not to mention, you could also use that pocket for other things beyond a water bottle holder when you're not using a water bottle in a way that an open water bottle holder might not. Third, comfort. This is one where it's hard to talk about because comfort is a very subjective thing, but Able Carry and Air, those are two very popular brands and two brands that I go to a lot just because of the comfort factor. Able Carry is like number one. Air is like closely behind it for me. And yeah, it's one of those things that the older that you get, the more important comfort becomes, at least for me. For a lot of people, it's just going to come down to you trying out the bag. But typically, like indicators of how comfortable a bag is going to be is if you look at the back padding area, the shoulder straps, like does it look like there's padding on there? To what extent? Did they actually put thought into it? Or is it a bag that's very form over function in that sense? Smooth zipper experience. This is like, probably something I put more weight than most people. In every bag review that I do, I'll do a Pilgrim churned butter zipper smoothness rating. And really the main way that you're interacting with the bag, right, is those zippers. I have found that the more smooth, frictionless that access is into the bag, the more little dopamine hits I get when I use it. And the more I get rewarded by using it, the more I want to use it. There are some bags that check off every box for me except for that. And it does end up being a bit of a deal breaker for me in that sense. And then the last one is just having a luggage pass through. Since now I'm 38, wife, kids, when I travel, I don't really one bag it very much anymore. And so my optimal setup is just personal item size backpack that I can fit in the seat under me with a roller. And usually when I'm in the airport, I just have it sitting on top of my carry-on. No need to have that weight on my shoulders when I'm at the airport. If that is important to you, maybe spend a second to think about the orientation, right, of the luggage pass-through. Some go vertically, right, where the bag sits like this on it. And I think this is beneficial for two kinds of people: those who prefer side access and have like side access oriented quick access pockets, and also for people that actually carry a lot of weight in their personal items because the center of gravity is lower this way, and it will make your suitcase like less top heavy and less prone to tipping over. For me, I'm a top access guy. I'm also like fairly minimal with what I carry. I don't have so much weight that my suitcase feels like it's going to plop over any moment. And as you can see with this bag, it's got that luggage pass-through orientation. Now I'll get into my nice to haves so you can see like, hey, these actually might be must-haves for me, or they're also nice to haves as you're trying to balance out between what's most important to you. For me, it's top-down, quick access pockets, having a sternum strap, an external stash pocket for my tech pouch, a dedicated laptop compartment, and then a clamshell style opening. So let me break each one down. And I will preface by saying that most of my favorite bags will still have the majority of these things. And my perfect bag would literally have everything I mentioned in the nice to haves combined with the must haves. I also try to keep it to 5 each. Some of these are really kind of closer to must haves for me. But yeah, starting off with like top down quick access pockets. To me, a true quick access pocket, it's when it's one quick horizontal zip, right? The Air City Pack Pro 2 does this really well. They have this top-down quick access pocket that's not super spacious, but for smaller things that I need quick access to, like my sunglasses and AirPods, that's something that I really value in a bag. And it's something that surprisingly is not that common either. Secondly is a sternum strap. This is one that candidly it is a weird one, right? Because I really value having sternum straps, especially when I'm traveling, I'm walking around all day, but I can't say that it is a must have for me because two of my favorite backpacks, the Pioneer Carry Panda Pack and the Waterfield Designs Tech Folio, do not have sternum straps. In the Tech Folio, I feel like it just would be out of place. And with the Panda, the more I've used it, the more I still would rather have the option of a sternum strap for it, given the size. But even though there's bags out there that check off more boxes for me, those two bags check off certain important boxes for me in a nuanced way that those bags don't. And it just sparks a level of joy that makes it justifiable not having those little nice to haves. Stash pocket for a tech pouch. So I think for a lot of people, you're not even thinking about tech pouches at this point, but for a lot of people in the bag world like myself, having a tech pouch, which is just like a dedicated bag where all of your tech essentials go, or the vast majority of them, so you don't have to place them in different places in the bag. They're just always there. When you get to a place and you want to access your tech, you grab one pouch, right? And now I'll be honest, before I started the YouTube channel, I was not a huge tech pouch guy because I wasn't like rotating through bags like I am now, testing new bags. And I liked having like my dedicated pockets for my essentials. I didn't have that many things, but out of necessity, right, I became a tech pouch person. Now for me, it is important, not a deal breaker, but having a dedicated pocket where like my Evergoods Cap 1 can go without having to throw it in the main compartment, because then it's not as quick access as I would like it to be. Next is just having a dedicated laptop compartment. This one's a really nice to have for sure. In the end of the day, I still prefer having my laptop and my tablet in a thin separate compartment and have the main compartment open for bulkier things. But in the compact to like everyday carry category, there are bags that I really like the Air City Pack 2, the Able Carry Daily Plus, where they do certain things like the zipper experience on both of those bags is insane, and it's better in the slightly bigger option. So like the difference in zipper smoothness from the City Pack 2 and the City Pack Pro 2 for me is like worlds apart, which is crazy. They look like very similar bags. One of the reasons why I go to the City Pack 2 actually more than the Pro is because of how much more enjoyable the access into the bag is. The Max CDC zippers are good, which is the bigger brother of the Daily Plus. But yeah, the Daily Plus for some reason has crazy zippers. And then lastly, clamshell style opening. There's a lot of bags that don't zip all the way. Oftentimes this is a design decision to accommodate for water bottle holders, especially external ones, more easily. But that is far from always being the case. But the nice thing about a clamshell opening is that the bag opens all the way so that you can just more comfortably pack it, especially if you're going to pack bulkier things like for a gym, or if you're going to use it for a one bag travel backpack. If you're planning on using this bag for one bag travel combined with just everyday carry, then I would definitely nudge you strongly into getting something with a clamshell style opening. Two other just additional considerations are material choices, like specifically around the fabric shell, and secondly, the weight. Weight-wise, for most of these, I would say if you want something that has good organization, has good structure, good build quality, you're going to be kind of in the 2 to 3 pound range. Psychologically, for me, I start thinking a bag is heavy when it hits like the 3 pound mark, just because there's a lot of fantastic options that are already like completely overkill in the materials that they're using and how overbuilt that they are, that are in like the 2.5 to 2.7 pound range. But if you're getting a bag that's like for one bag travel, 26 liters around there, there is definitely a balance between how comfortable the bag is and how heavy it is. The Able Carry Max EDC is 26 liters, it's 3.2 pounds. So it is a little bit on the heavier side, but the harness system is so comfortable that it kind of cancels it out. There are plenty of bags that weigh less than that don't even pale in comparison to how comfortable the Max EDC is. And then in terms of the material selection, I just did a video recently, I'll link it below, where I'm comparing ballistic nylon, X-Pack, Ultra, and EcoPack. These are probably the 4 most popular material choices in backpacks today. If you want to like really nerd out on what fabric option to get, watch that. I think just at a very high level. Ballistic nylon, other variations of like, usually it's like in the premium bag world, Cordura nylons, they come in different deniers. The higher the deniers, the higher the weight of the fabric. So essentially it makes the bag heavier, but tougher at the same time. On the upper end, you'll see like 1680D ballistic nylon. That's what Air uses on their bags, which is complete overkill, but it's still great. 840D is a really nice sweet spot, but the lower you go in deniers, the smoother it feels and the more malleable it is. So I probably wouldn't go below 420D for a shell fabric, but 420D is actually like a really nice balance that for anyone that's not like super rough with their things, it's still going to be plenty strong. So you have that. That's one of the most common versions, like nylon, ballistic nylon, etc. And then on the other end, you have, we'll just call them like the very like technical fabrics. I'll put them all in the same category: X-Pack, Ultra, EcoPack, Dyneema, etc. And these are fabrics that are incredibly advanced in the sense that they're super lightweight and super strong. They're typically 10 to 15 times stronger than steel per gram. And they also offer like insane waterproofing properties, which all those things, you know, for a lot of people, it's like, well, that sounds like a complete win over not having it. It's lighter, it's stronger, and it's more waterproof. But on the other side of that coin is they're definitely more expensive, but beyond that, functionality wise, these are materials that don't age as gracefully. The combination of heat and humidity causes things like delamination, where essentially like the fabric starts peeling. You also get this like pimpling effect. And so I think if you want one backpack that you can have as long as possible and not worry about those things, probably stay away from one of those more advanced materials. But if you live in a place where it rains a lot and you're commuting, you can always just carry a packable waterproof membrane to throw over it. But if it's something that you're dealing with a lot, then there's a value add to having a material like that. Also, if you're like super rough with your things, or you one bag travel and you live in a place where they're weighing your personal item or your carry-on and every gram matters, then that's also a scenario where it might be worthwhile spending a little bit more. And now the last on the list is the look, which is incredibly important. The reason why I include it last is because there is something that happens, right, when you see something that you love the look of, like in my case. When I was single, if I saw a girl and I was attracted to her, all of the little things that are the things that matter the most long term, like to bring it back to the bag, organization, the comfort, is it the right size? All of those things, people are more likely to like brush those things to the side just because they love the look of something. But then as the honeymoon phase comes to an end, functionality is incredibly important, right? So really, for me, if I know exactly what I'm looking for in a bag and I've narrowed it down, and the last thing is just finding a bag that I like the look of, if it checks off all those boxes, it's gonna be that much easier to pull the trigger. But that's just me. The vast majority of the bags that I review on this channel are bags that I identify with the look of them. There's bags that are full on function over form that I'll talk about now, like Tom Bin, that I need to check them out finally, but just the looks doesn't do it for me, right? And that's important too. But to try to guide you in that sense, there's more categories than this, but I just try to cover the most common categories that I see in the bag world. And that's tech minimal, tactical. I made a section for its own thing because they really are kind of their own thing, but worthwhile brands to check out. And then lastly, heritage. Tech minimal, one of the most mass appeal categories. This is like represented by brands like Air, Black Ember, Alpaka. I think for anyone that wants something without, loud branding, you want something sleek, minimal, technical, modern, kind of understated, with maybe like subtle hints of tactical here and there, depending on the bag. That is probably the most popular category right now. Then you have tactical with brands like Go Rug, Sea Tactical, Mystery Ranch / Yeti. You have some brands that kind of straddle between tech minimal and tactical, like Evergoods. I feel like is a little bit more minimal than tactical, but there's definitely like a tacticalness to it. That's a word. The Brown Buffalo as well. I feel like a lot of the people that like Brown Buffalo fall into that Go Ruck world, but they're like, I just want something a little slightly less like military-esque. And typically these are bags that are all about durability, bags for you to like beat them up. Like Go Ruck, they're rucking bags, like they're designed for you to put like heavy weight on them and walk around with them. Like that's a thing that people are into. I don't understand. Maybe one day I'll give it a try, but we shall see. But also a category that I think favors people that have I like to just dump my stuff into the bag. I don't need a lot of organization for my stuff. Heritage, if you're really identify with old school, timeless bags, you like the look, you like the construction, that it's like nothing fancy, but you're gonna have it forever. Typically, these are like wax canvas or leather, or a combination of both. And you love like watching things age, which I definitely like fall in that category in many ways. You have brands like Filson, Frost River, Bradley Mountain, that make some really sexy bags in that world. But typically with those, the big compromise comes in the comfort department. They're typically heavier. The padding is like very minimal. There's not a lot of breathability. You typically have like straight up wax canvas or leather directly on your back. And that's something I value. And that's why one of those wouldn't be like my go-to, my only like everyday carry bag for everything. And then a few brands that I tried to see like where they would fit within a category, but I really couldn't. And I really appreciate them in that sense. The first two I can speak to, Bellroy, one of my favorite brands. Even though they're a bigger brand, something I love, they're constantly innovating and they're playful with their designs, but in a way where they strike this perfect balance of being casual and effortless, but still elevated enough that they work in like a smart business executive type setting in a very tasteful way. Most of the brands that I've talked about today play it very safe when it comes to colors. Bellroy is incredibly creative when it comes to colors. So I think if your personality type identifies with like wearing something that does stand out a little bit, it'll catch someone's eye, maybe spark a conversation, but not in a way that's like super loud or in your face. That's a great option. Then you have Waterfield Designs, where aesthetically, they're known for using like a heavy duty wax canvas in the vast majority of their products, combined with like a beautiful full grain leather. So on the outside, it's very much heritage, but their designs don't feel heritage. There's a really nice blend of heritage materials with a modern aesthetic, and also internally, like you get a lot more organization that you would get in a true heritage bag. The shoulder straps, the harness system in general is more comfortable. And it's one of the reasons for why I love that bag so much, right? Combining the things I love about heritage bags with the creature comforts from modern bags living in a tech world, which makes me really happy. And then the last one, which I can't tell you how many people have commented on my videos, check out Tom Bin, because I'm a big zipper guy and pocket guy and organization guy. And Tom Bin, similar to Waterfield Designs, they've been around for a very long time. They come at a premium price point, but they very much have a cult-like following. Only thing is the aesthetics, the design language of Tom Bin is very polarizing. It has very kind of like New Balances up until the last 10-ish years, where I feel like they've become a lot more popular. But I feel like before, New Balances were like dads who just did not care at all about what people thought. They're like, hey, these are insanely comfortable. I am full on function over form. Now New Balance has evolved. They've come out with like designs that have appealed to different people. And I'm a big New Balance guy, by the way. I love them. They're insanely comfortable. I kind of feel like that's what Tom Bin is. But I think certain people are actually going to be drawn to the look of Tom Bin. But anyways, that's it. Feel free to ask me for specific recommendations. I have not reviewed thousands of bags, but I know the bag world decently well. I can hopefully point you in the right direction. All I ask is don't just tell me, hey, which one should I go for? I want a bag that I can put my laptop and my headphones and a water bottle into. Hopefully from this video, the things that you should be thinking about. So if you're gonna comment, tell me, hey, here's my budget. I want a bag that's around this size. I'm more of a side access kind of guy. And aesthetically, I like everything except for military. Telling me all that will help me a ton to narrow it down a little bit more. Any must-haves, any nice-to-haves. Do you need a water bottle holder? Does it need to stand on its own? Things like that I already talked about. But best of luck, cheers. And if you're still holding on for your dear life to that shitty backpack that you had forever, do yourself a favor, treat yourself. Life is too short to not have a nice backpack if you're using it a lot. Cheers.